Hi, I'm Neil Rogers, standing outside the BMC team bus just prior to the start of Stage 1 of the Amgen Tour of California. We're here in South Lake Tahoe. Tomorrow's stage, Monday Stage 2, ends in Sacramento, hometown of BMC team director Mike Sayers. I had a chance to chat with Mike Sayers a little bit about his being the only American director of an American World Tour team and what it means for the race to come back to his hometown.
Well, it started when they recruited me as a rider for 2007, and I think when Gavin Chilcott originally talked to me, his idea to me, or his proposal, was that I can ride for a few years and finish my riding career, and then if I wanted to, and if it worked out, then I could move into a director's position. Now, I don't think anybody on our team really ever imagined that we would get to this level this quickly. So as things do in cycling, they tend to move quickly, and that's what happened. And so now I find myself directing a pro tour team and really being the only regular full-time director, hired for that position. I'm spending 90% of my time in Europe and doing all the big European races. I was pretty comfortable in a leadership position as a rider, so that made it a little bit easier, but I really had the transition year where we were racing both in America and in Europe, and I was just taking care of the American part of it. And then last year was the first time that I was full-time in Europe, but still kind of doing the American races. And so to answer the question, it's just over time listening to John Lalong, who's our regular director, who's my boss, my direct boss, and learning from him. He's got a ton of experience with Phonak and at the ASO. And then we brought in Fabio Baldado and now Rick Verbrugge and Max Giandri and even Jim Akowitz. And a lot of times when I'm the second director at a race, I spend a lot of time listening and observing and not a lot of time, talking, because the first director is in charge, and I try to glean as much information and as many ideas from those guys as I can, and then try to incorporate it into my own system. And I'm still learning my own system. Every race, every week, I try to add something or take something away to make myself more efficient, both for the riders and for the staff. So it's a continual learning process. It really never stops, just like being a rider. Doing the tour last year was a big highlight. Even though I was the second car, it was still just getting into a race. Since I'd never done the tour as a rider, it was just getting there and seeing how it works and seeing how a pro tour team approaches a race like that with a leader on top of it in Cadel Evans that could legitimately win the race. So there was a lot of learning going on there and just a lot of observing. That was a big highlight. And then for me, because I always kind of looked at myself as more of a classics type rider, mainly in America, but a little bit in Europe, I enjoy really going to the classics and observing and being part of those races. So Roubaix and Flanders, even Amstel is a great race to be a part of. The fans are incredible and the race is just amazing, So those are all highlights for me. But really, to be able to come back to California and direct this race and be in charge of this event every year, for me, this is kind of like my personal Tour de France. It really is that important to me. It really goes beyond words. It really, for me, is the culmination of a lot of years of riding and then the years of being a director and just kind of feeling my way through it. And it's just great to have the guys come to Sacramento and stay there for a few days and be able to show them the roads that I trained on and I grew up on as a rider. And I don't know, it's kind of like taking your kids to a ball game, and just like showing them, if you're a Yankees fan, like taking them to a Yankees game and showing them what it's all about. For me, it's a lot like that. And this year I have a couple of guys that had never been to America before, so I was even like doubly excited about that. And just trying to show them how good the racing can be here, how organized, and how the American teams race really well in their own environment, and just the sport is really growing here. So it's just beyond words, really, for me.